Moving around to the bottom of the drone, you've got your air vents right here that allow the heat sink to dispel the heat through them. What I really like about the bottom is these, instead of having the removable rubber feet that used to break off if you have a hard impact, these will probably last a very long time because there's nothing to break. They're not removable. So I like this idea. You could see what they did to save weight on this drone. There's no front arm pin hinge covers, saving weight. Over here, there's no, they hollowed this part out right here. On the back, there's where the lights used to be for the Mini. There's no, they hollowed these out to save weight. So you could see what they did to save weight on this drone was they went to a lot of trouble to save weight and not reduce the integrity of the drone. Inside the front arm, believe it or not, this is foam. So they kept it strong, but they made it so that you don't really need all this plastic anyway on here. So they lightened up this arm by putting foam on the inside, which is a great idea. And then the battery button, because the battery's inboard, then you have the battery button similar to the Mavic Air on the bottom. Same thing, push once, push twice, and then it lights up. Moving back to the top of the drone, they did something similar to what the Mavic Pro has, and what they did was they made these tabs here, which sit on top of the rear arm hinges. They made these integrated with the top body, which is a great idea, because on the Mavic Pro, if you had a simple overextension of your rear arm upwards, it would crack this tab right here. I'm sorry for the focus, but it would crack that tab right there, and then you'd end up having to replace the arm joint that's inside. Well, if you have an overextension, it's not gonna, it might do a little bit of damage to this tab right here, but it's probably not going to crack it. The result of an overextension is probably just going to be a crack in the arm joint on the inside, which you might have to replace, but at least you won't have to replace this part right here. Moving on to the gimbal. The gimbal is similar to the Air and the Spark in that the yaw arm is internal to the drone. So some people are experiencing some gimbal overload messages. I'm not sure what the reason for that is, but this gimbal is pretty stout. It's lower resolution than the Mavic Air, but I'll tell you what, for a $399 drone with a 3-axis gimbal, you really can't beat it. It's super stable in the wind. And what I have noticed more than anything is that this gimbal, despite the Mavic Pro, Mavic 2 Pro, Mavic 2 Zoom, this gimbal stays horizontal. You could yaw this thing full left stick and the gimbal will stay horizontal. And that horizontal level problem has been a problem with the Mavic series since it came out. Mavic 2 Pros are known for it, where they just won't maintain the horizon level when you're yawing. And this gimbal is just really amazing. It just holds it just really solid as a rock when you're yawing. These here are air vents. They were obstacle avoidance on all the other Mavics, but this is just for air inflow. So it does have ram air. Unlike the Mavic and the Mavic Pro and the Mavic 2, who don't have ram air, who don't count on ram air, this does count on ram air. And that's going to bring me to my next point is, where's your cooling fan? Well, you don't have one. And that's a serious downside to this drone. For you guys that like to fly out in the desert or in Arizona where it gets to be 110 degrees, well, what I could recommend is cooling the battery before keep the battery at room temperature before you head outside. Keep the drone at room temperature. This is kind of, I compare it to VW Beetle. You don't want to be sitting in the Beetle because it's not water cooled, it's just air cooled. You want to always have some flow on the internal components. If you let it sit on a table and it's sitting there for more than 5 or 10 minutes, I got an error message saying that the core board was overheating. So Remember, don't let this sit on a hot table, on a picnic table. Otherwise, you could possibly fry your core board. It's meant to be flown, so power it up, get it in the air, and if it's 110 or 120 degrees outside, be leery of that core board overheat and land just as soon as you possibly can. Anyhow, so that's my brief review of this drone. My website is www.thunderdrones.org, and you can find me online Facebook. And I'm happy to answer any questions you have about it. I could see this replacing the Spark and replacing the Phantom 3. It's that good of a drone, super solid in the wind, and the construction is just really superior for its price. Thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, please let me know.